On this episode, we discuss Me, You, Madness.
Did it fill us with sadness or gladness? You'll find out at this address on the Flophouse.
Sort of a slant rhyme at the end.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
Hey, we're a professional podcast, and I'm Stuart Wellington.
We're somewhat of a professional podcast, and joining us is a very special guest. Although, can you really be a guest when you're kind of a member of the family?
Wait.
Yep.
You didn't say your name, though.
Nobody cares about my name.
That was your line. Stuart said it. I said my name. Stuart said his name, and then
Good point.
went into introducing Hallie right away.
Because I was so excited that Hallie's
Spoiler
right.
alert,
I'm Elliot
it's Hallie.
Kalin, but no one cares about Elliot Kalin. They care about our special guest,
Hallie Hagler.
Hallie hails from Denver, Colorado.
No, that was my going up to the bat introduction.
Sorry. Okay. Hallie
okay.
is 0 for 10 this season. Let's see if she can turn the slump
Actually.
around.
Too true.
It's good to see your face, Hallie. But also, what? Look at this. We're in two rooms, not four, not three, not four. 2 rooms. Elliot and Hallie are together in a room on the other coast, and Stuart and I are together in a room here.
What I like about Elliot and Hallie is that it's this like forced perspective thing where Elliot looks like a fucking Gandalf.
Yeah, because I'm sitting close to the camera. But Dan's right. This is a 2-room special. If
Wait,
you wanted
that's
to
how they did it?
Yes. That if you wanted to make there's a lot of outtakes of Frodo handing things to Gandalf and them just missing because they can't quite get it right. But if it's a 2-room special, if you wanted to make a 90s anthology film out of this, you'd have to add 2 more rooms for the total of 4. So, Hallie, do you have anything to promote today?
Oh, no.
I guess Hallie is promoting the fact that we are neighbors. We live close by.
Yeah, I'm promoting that I left my house to do something today.
Very exciting.
Check
We
me
can
out
do that.
on the Flophouse.
We are. Thanks. You look very happy too, Hallie, to be doing something.
Yeah.
You have a dreamy look in your eye.
There's no small child here. Well, there is, but it's not mine.
No, there are 2 small children here, but they're in a different room. Yeah, that's the 3rd room that I guess it's technically a 3-room special. The two rooms that the recording podcast people are in, and the 3rd room that my children are in.
This is all good. Very good.
This is all good
This is all
stuff.
good stuff. Alex, don't
I feel
minute of
like
it.
Hallie, your appearances on the show, you've kind of been plagued with bad luck in only the shittiest movies. I feel like we always pick terrible movies to watch. I'm excited to see if we broke that streak tonight.
Okay. Well, let's get right into it. Is that my job?
Yeah. So Hallie,
I love how you were like, well, it seems like I should take charge here, but then again, I am the guest.
now
What-
I have an image now. Okay. So it's the conquering armies of Macedonia. Alexander the Great has been slain in battle. Sloane, I was about to say, the girlfriend from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He has been slain in battle, and it's not that interesting. But there's got to be something about her because Ferris is interested, and he's a super cool jerk, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
Alexander the Great has been slain in battle. The army needs a new commander. They turn to Hallie. They acclaim her. They say, Hallie, we need you to step in. And she goes, okay. And in that moment, Macedonia turns to a different leader, and Hallie has lost her chance to be the conqueror of the Western world. How does it feel, Hallie?
Nobody directly asked me to take over. It was only implied, so I don't think that's an analogous
You gotta be one of those people who just takes charge in a chaotic situation, you know?
All right. Okay. Then let's get right into it, folks.
So what do we
Starting with the movie.
What do we do on this podcast, Hallie?
You talk about the movie.
Okay.
We talk about the movies indeed.
Now, the bad thing for the listeners that they didn't see the hand motions that Hallie did when she was like,
Yeah.
let's start it up.
Yeah.
A lot of cranking.
It was like taking a little rocket ride on her pointer finger to the sky.
I know this microphone makes me feel like Casey Kasem.
perfect impression. No, this is a podcast where we watch a bad movie and then we talk about it. Tonight's movie, Me You Madness. Now, I'd like to get something.
Now, not to be confused with Mutant Madness, the song from the movie Gremlins that was, I think, never released on the radio.
Madness.
Yeah, thank you.
I have that song though on an LP. So
That's a weird non-character thing for you to do. Out of character.
out of character for
To
me
own the Gremlins soundtrack.
Yeah. Anyway.
Unless it's called Creepy Little Littles, and it's our favorite songs from movies about bad little things. So there's songs from Gremlins, Critters, Ghoulies,
Munchies,
Hobgoblins, Munchies. Hallie, what ones can you think of?
Popples.
Yeah.
Popples they were like toys. They were like a movie where they killed people.
They have a
Mad
I think
Balls.
there's a cartoon, a Popples cartoon.
Yeah, I think there was a Popples cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mad Balls, Kushkins.
I would say half of the characters in Small Soldiers.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the bad ones, sure. So Dan, tell us.
Babe.
Well, I just wanted to get off at the top of the show. I would like to acknowledge that the Louise Linton, who's behind this movie,
And in front of it.
and Ed Westwick, her male lead, both problematic figures in different ways. One, the wife of Steve Mnuchin of Trump's cabinet, and also the writer of a weird racially tinged book about when she went to Africa, among other things. And Ed Westwick, accused sexual assaulter. So perhaps
I didn't even know about that. I'm glad that you told me before. I highly praised his performance, which I was not going to do.
I would understand a certain discomfort with this movie. I wouldn't recommend you give money to Me You Madness per se, but it was a highly requested
It cost
film.
money to rent it to watch it for the show. So
Shut up, Hallie. Shut
We're
up.
all complicit, and now that's why Steve
We're all
Mnuchin's
complicit.
rich, because we gave him $5 each to watch this movie.
I'm just saying, problematic figures, perhaps even more so than usual, but a very requested movie, a weird movie to exist in the world, a strange vanity project for the lead and director and writer. But we should just get into it after that acknowledgement and after Elliot finishes adjusting his microphone.
Thank you. Now, I think, just to make it sure everyone knows we don't like the people who made this movie. And are having it on our bad movie podcast where we make fun of movies is not in any way an endorsement of the people who made this movie.
This is not we're not intentionally signal boosting them, even though kind of we are, but we, whatever.
don't
Well
see
said.
it. Just take our word for it.
If ever we were going to say steal this movie, and we wouldn't, but we would
Yeah.
for this one, I guess.
You
But not the
wouldn't
movie
a
Steal This
DVD.
Movie, which is a movie about Abby Hoffman, I think.
Yeah.
So the movie begins, and the movie is titled "Me, You, Madness."
Now, Stuart, take me. What's the punctuation like on this? Are those commas in between periods? What is it?
Nothing.
got nothing?
I have no. Wait, is the title I had no punctuation?
No, it's nude of punctuation, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's It's
Later
like
on-
the final chapter of Ulysses.
Later on, we get what is nearly the title, not the exact title, but it gives a hint to how one should say it.
Yep, and just like the final chapter of Ulysses, we're introduced right off the bat to a real girl boss. That's right, Catherine Black, played by the writer-director star.
That's a lot of people say that about, was it Molly Bloom, that she's a real girl boss?
Yeah.
Yes, I said yes. Lean in, I said yes.
So Catherine Black is a hedge fund manager. She's fashionable. She's crass. She eats spiders, and she runs her company her way. Dan, is there something wrong with my levels? Am I not?
No, I'm just worried that we're getting more audio bleeds than in the past, but we'll see whether Alex can
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
So
Well,
how would you guys
it
describe
was never that much of a problem in the years that we recorded it in the same room.
Yeah, true.
So I described that she's fashionable. The movie begins with her wearing a white business suit that has shorts, and she has knee-high gold boots. And the whole outfit gets increasingly cheaper the more you look at it. How would you? This movie opens fairly stylishly, right?
Certainly there's a
fourth
lot of
wall breaking and
fast editing. Yes, fourth wall breaking, talking to the audience.
I mean, she takes us through.
Hanging a lampshade on the fact that she's doing a female version of American Psycho to some degree.
That's the thing. 5 or 6 minutes in, as soon as you're like, wait a minute, she's a high-powered financial person who's immoral and amoral and violent, and she's telling us about her day and how amazing it is. This is kind of a ripoff of American Psycho. She looks at the camera and says, and this is not a ripoff of American Psycho. And it's like, wait a minute, you can't just say that. That's not okay.
I kept wondering why I felt so bored, and I think it's because there's a lot of showing and telling. Like, everything that you, like, Stuart, the thing about she's really fashionable. Like, not only do you just see her being very fashionable, but she has, like, 5 monologues where she talks about how fashionable she is and, like, all the designers she buys and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the most influenced by American Psycho this is, I think, is in the long lists of things.
Yes.
The thing everyone loves
everybody's
most.
favorite part of American Psycho.
I mean,
yeah.
and so how would you describe her accent?
Well,
Pan something.
Pan
Like Peter
Wilf?
Pan.
Because in real life she's Scottish, I believe. She's lived in
There's-
America a long time, but her accent sounds like an American trying to do an upper class British person and failing somewhat.
Yeah.
I feel like, and it's only in the narration, right? In the scenes, she's speaking with like an American accent, right?
Well, it wavers all over the place. Like at a certain point, I'm like, okay, is she like? I know she's Scottish. Is she trying to do British, or is this like what mid Atlantic? Like, what was the old like? What do they call?
Yeah,
the
mid
Catherine Hepburn?
Atlantic, when it was like you could play
Yeah.
like you were from New England or Old England.
Yes,
Yeah, the
I
Cary
guess.
Grant, Katharine Hepburn type.
hard
you
to
know.
tell.
And I don't want to make this about anyone's appearance because that's not fair. But it was many times during this movie that as I with seeing her in the news, I had to be like, oh wait, she's like my age because she carries herself in a way that she is 15 years older than me. Like she seems like an older woman who is trying to look young when she is less than 40.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree. We shouldn't.
I don't wanna
focus too
harp
much
on her
it,
appearance.
other than
She-
the fact that the movie harps on it, and it is strange that she talks like we are meant to believe that Ed Westwick is significantly younger than she is, and he is 6 years in reality younger than she is. And the thing is, like, they look about the same age because she looks like a wealthy woman who has the means to like try and preserve youth as long as possible, and he looks like a guy who's maybe lived a little hard, so they've met in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. They both felt like they were older than me for some reason, but that might be because I'm getting younger every day, you know?
Yep.
Well, you do have
Clean living.
Benjamin Button's disease. Yeah, sad really.
It was
It
a
always ends up
disease?
with a dead baby, yeah.
Oh God,
Wow.
jeez.
Okay.
That was something that Daily Show and now Last Week Tonight writer Tim Carvel said to me one time. He goes, I didn't want to see Benjamin Button. I knew it was just going to end with a dead baby. And I was like, yeah, that's true.
Wow. I mean, he's got a point.
So
Okay.
Stuart, so she's telling us all about how great her clothes are, how rich
Yeah,
she is. She's
and,
amazing
like,
at business.
She's mean to her, the people who work for her, and she has to deal with all the problems you'd expect her to
Not
deal
her
with, like-
manicurist.
That's the thing. Now, she's complaining about her. I guess she's not that mean to her manicurist, but she's complaining about getting a chip in her $120 gel manicure, and I'm like, that's kind of reasonable for a gel manicure. Like I was,
Oh wow.
like I mean, I expected her to. There's a couple times in this movie where they kind of like undershoot how much something
you
should
and I
cost
are
or
living
be.
very different lives. Too.
Yeah, Dan only gets like $10
My
gel manicures.
are like $5 at most.
Wow, then you
Yeah.
get no designs.
True.
Are you using non-vegan gel and whatnot?
Don't get me in trouble, Stuart.
It just
No,
it seemed a little
it's
weird. Like I
reasonable.
expected
The price is
for this character who's like
Okay.
a multi-millionaire to be like my $300 manicure. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Well, maybe she just likes
You're saying
the work he
not rich
does
enough.
because she likes playing trivia with him.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is she's
it's him.
not paying for the manicure so much as for him to come to
company.
her house and spend time with
Yeah,
her.
that's true.
That's like
She's
when Jonathan Edwards got that $400 haircut, and people were like, "It's not that great a haircut." And it's like, "Well, you're paying for the time of the barber to come to your house and do the haircut there."
Sorry,
like,
Jonathan Edwards.
yeah,
Crossing
famous.
That's how we
over.
all know him.
Jonathan Edwards, the psychic, and also the Great Awakening preacher. Both of them got $400 haircuts from Beyond the Grave.
And yeah, so other than that, like, we mainly just hear her describe her like workout routines, her daily life where she wakes up
And
at
then we
5 in
see
the
it.
morning.
We also see it.
Yeah.
We also see, yep,
A lot of show and tell, a lot of see and say. Yeah. Or say and see.
There's a lot of neon. Both her home is decorated with a lot of neon light sculptures, and she also all like the place that she goes to do spin class is all drenched in neon and black lights.
Yeah, you get the feeling that she hired Nicholas Winding Refn as her interior decorator for every place that she goes to.
Which would explain some of the blood. She also, we also learned that she is dealing with, she's hired a potential house sitter, which we later learn is a ruse, but she is running late, and so we get to see her speeding along Pacific Coast Highway 1 after she describes the expensive car that she owns, and we get to see a lot of shots of the expensive car that she owns. But other than that, we don't get a lot of exteriors. We don't get a lot of shots of her actually driving the car. I'm assuming it was very expensive. And they couldn't.
Ironically, there are more exteriors in the movie interiors than there are in this movie.
Well, I feel like this movie was just like a ridiculous, like I didn't look up anything about this movie until
Good.
after I watched it.
Good. Stay
and
pure.
I was so bored watching it. And then when I looked stuff up, I was like, oh, this movie is so much more interesting now. I wish I had this information. Like, I didn't realize that it was Steve Mnuchin's wife until after the movie. But I kept being like, how did she get all this money to spend on the movie? Because all of the music in it, I mean,
Yes.
she must have had to pay so much for the rights to
The
that music.
soundtrack is full of actual 80s hits, the original recordings, the original artists, not covers. Like, the soundtrack that was what kept hitting me. I was like, you can spend a bunch to rent a sports car for a day, for a shoot. You can rent a mansion for a couple days. It's not impressive. Porn does it all the time. But to pay for that soundtrack is crazy. It must
to
have been a
have
hugely
tenderness
expensive.
by general public play over your final credits. Now you're running out of money.
Yeah,
Just like
I mean,
Clueless.
that wasn't the one that I was going to say, but
No, I know. But no, there's a lot. There's a lot of them. Hallie, it's interesting that you say that though, because like Audrey, when I was watching this, this is actually the second time I've seen Me You Madness, because there's like a bad movie watching like Friends stream where like people played it before, and she's like,
and
Do
Dan
you
doesn't
guys
understand.
know this?
Yeah, Dan doesn't understand
Stuart?
that he only has one life to live on this earth. Yeah, we know about Dan's.
well,
We know that Dan is watching bad movies outside of the podcast.
Yeah, you
I don't
can't- you
approve
can't
of
just-
it,
two children like you.
you can't
Yeah.
just tip the hourglass of your life on its side and put it on pause.
but, like, I'm just going to put it on pause for the second time I watch Me You Madness.
But so she like walked in partway through, having seen it with me before, not watching it obviously the second time because she has better things to do. But she was like, "Do you think this would be more or less interesting if it was, like other, or like you would like it more or less if there were other actors in these roles? Because the actors in it are not equal to the task, but the only thing that's interesting about it overall really is like, oh shit, that's Steve Mnuchin's wife
Yes.
doing
Yes.
this vanity project where she's kind of like trying to justify the fact that she's so rich by being like, no, I'm in on the joke, guys.
No, I get it. I get it that rich people are horrible. See, I made this
Yeah.
movie about how rich people are evil. Just like, and I would say, I think the movie is really, it is a crazy movie, but it is much less interesting to me if it's not Steve Mnuchin's wife.
Yeah.
And if you had better performers in it, it would not achieve the strange pitch of like just bizarre amateurishness that looks professional. Like the same way that one of the reasons The Disaster Artist doesn't quite work for me is seeing real performers doing those scenes from the room.
Yeah.
It doesn't achieve the same weird magic as seeing people who have no idea what they're doing playing those scenes. But like the performers in this are so off and everything about it is off, and yet it looks so professional because she has so much money to spend on it. And knowing that like this guy who was busy like helping wreck the country, that his wife was off making this movie where she like keeps showing her butt in it while he's like the Secretary of the Treasury is a very like the backstory makes the movie
Every
as far as I'm
time
concerned.
I think of those pictures of him like smiling, because he has a very like shitty smile. Like
Yeah.
he's got a shitty smile, and I just couldn't get that shitty smile out of my mind. So
And you wonder, you have to imagine Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury, is having to tell his wife why he's not going to screen it at the White House for the president. This movie that she made.
I bet that he would have been into it. I feel like I like imagining her when she wrote the script and passed it over to him, and he was like finishing it in bed, and she was lying next to him, like, "Well, what do you think?"
yeah.
I think it's adorable that you think they share a bed and they don't have separate rooms.
They just got married. They're still in love,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. They're still in the first
Yeah.
glow of young love.
No, Steve Mnuchin's totally into it. Let's be clear.
Oh, because there's also the part. This is the gross part of it to me is I imagine Steve Mnuchin is like, yeah, make a movie about how hot you are. I want everyone to see how hot my wife is in this movie, which is creepy, but it's also, I guess, there's a big history of that in movies, going all the way back to Joseph Kennedy producing movies for his mistress Gloria Swanson to star in.
Okay, so let's
Such as
get back to the movie.
the unfinished Queen Kelly, footage of which was used in Sunset Boulevard, where Gloria Swanson and Eric von Stroheim, the original
we
director
get
of Queen
back
Kelly,
to the movie.
were playing characters who were an actress and a man who had directed her. It's just The Wheels Within Wheels in Sunset Boulevard, a brilliant movie that is not this one.
I like watching Hallie's face during all this, where she's like, "Well, I guess I still am happy to be out of the house."
Yeah, I keep thinking of things that I wanted to say earlier, but it's moving so fast. Oh, the person that I wanted to say when we were talking about her accent, she sounds exactly like, for the Real Housewives fans out there, Dorit from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's what she talks like. Okay, that's all.
Okay.
I don't know
that's
why.
fair.
I turned to Stuart because I was like, if anyone here's seen Real Housewives of Beverly Hills other than Hallie, it's Stuart.
I was gonna say she kind of gives off some like Real Housewives energy in this movie.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I feel like
mean,
she's living the dream every Real Housewife has of being rich and being able to murder at will.
And yeah, so over the course of her narration, where she's describing her possessions and her lifestyle, she keeps sprinkling in hints that she is also a psychotic murderess. So she has to rush home because, as I mentioned before, she has put out an ad for a house sitter to watch her Malibu mansion.
I think she's actually looking for a roommate. Is
roommate.
the thing. She's looking to
Yeah.
rent out the extra bedroom in her house.
Oh, okay.
Which is
'cause
why it's like
my
But
Every
her
brain-
justification for why she needs to rent the room is that she travels a lot and
Yeah.
she needs someone to
She
watch
does
the
need a
house.
house sitter. Yeah, that's true.
Now we do
Like
get
in the
a
hit movie of the same name.
Now we do get a shot of her driving up the coast, and the whole time I was looking for my friend Chris's house, but I didn't see it.
Your friend.
So, friend of the podcast, Chris's house. She meets this guy immediately. We get nothing but sexual chemistry here.
She takes a long time to make a drink too. There are a number of times where she does things in the movie that take much longer than a normal human being would take to do them.
So we're introduced to Tyler, who's the other lead, played by the guy whose name I don't remember.
Ed Westwick of Gossip Girl.
And
Yeah, very disappointing because at first I thought it was Britney Spears' boyfriend, and that's what
wow.
he looks like.
That would be some casting. That would add a whole new layer.
Oh,
to
how would you
everything.
get him? How could you possibly land him? He's one of the biggest stars in the world.
So this guy Tyler is like a real Joe Millionaire type, just a real six pack.
I mean, except he doesn't have a million. He's not a millionaire. That was the whole thing. Joe
That's the
Millionaire
whole thing about
was-
Joe Millionaire. He doesn't
was-
have $1 million.
No.
Oh,
he-
that's right. I forgot. That was I was thinking of, do you want to marry a millionaire? Where it turned out the guy had like $1.1 million. That's right.
No, that's a
That's
different
right.
show.
Joe Millionaire is the one where they trick ladies, right?
Right.
Yes.
But I think he only had like $1.1 million also.
Oh, okay.
and
He's so poor.
and similar to Joe Millionaire, Tyler is trying to trick one lady here because he is not looking to be a roommate. He is looking to steal her stuff. He has a game going on where he answers ads to be rich people's roommates and then he steals their stuff, which is the stupidest con because they'll just find him, right? It's
Yeah,
not
it
like,
seems like there's a lot of.
there would be some correspondence.
And yet, when she
Paper
finds
trail.
him later, he acts like this has never happened before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, I can't believe anyone saw through my ruse.
Yeah, I do want to take a moment here as we are introduced to Ed Westwick's character, who,
Tyler,
who
not the creator.
particularly in these early scenes, but throughout the movie, has been lit to give his eyes and mouth a weird pink purple color. But like, I'm just saying,
I
like,
didn't notice that.
I mean, maybe
You
he's
didn't
just.
notice
that?
I didn't
go
notice
back
it.
and look at it. He
Maybe-
has the
maybe I'm
weirdest
just
lighting on his face.
Maybe I'm just addicted to. I'm just know that he has a spice addiction. Spice, of course, being in Dune, the drug that allows you to bend time, but it turns your eyes violet blue after a while, and you become addicted to it. Yeah,
That's
Man.
Elizabeth Taylor, right? She had violet eyes.
yeah, and white diamonds. These have
I
always
was-
brought me luck.
I was sure that the only thing you guys would want to talk about was how weird the lighting on this guy's face.
Did not
But
notice.
Anyway, I just want to say
We
I
are
liked
not
his
the-
little
we-
beard.
you ridiculed me for having seen this before, but the thing I wanted to say,
You're right.
is
If only
the-
we'd seen it the second time, we would have noticed his weird face lighting.
No,
We could
no,
have talked
that's
about
not
it for
it.
hours.
He's
That's
part
not
of Payet Pre's Warlock Coven.
That's not what I'm referring to the fact that when I saw it before, it came with a little bit of a pre-show that had been edited together by the screener of Me You Madness, which was, I don't know whether it was from the electronic press kit for Me You Madness, I assume. I don't think that there was a lot of actual interviews that happened for this movie, but it was the two of the leads being interviewed, and Louise Linton like talking like so at length, so happily about her vision for this movie and like what a great like rapport she and Ed Westwick had, and Ed Westwick looking like he was in a hostage video, like wondering how his career had gotten to this place, like how soon he could get out, like how few words he could say in this
So,
room.
Dan, are you saying that we should just find a recording of you doing that instead of listening to this podcast?
What?
Maybe.
Doing what?
Wait,
So
you
wait-
said you saw it for like a Never mind. Forget it.
So do you think? So you're saying you don't think they did a lot of press for this movie, in-person press? So like they never got interviewed by George Whipple or something?
For Whipple's World?
Yeah, for Whipple's World, the guy
No,
with the
they
giant eyebrows who just had a baby for like 2 years ago, which is insane because he looks like 1,000,000 years old.
Yeah, but that baby's got huge eyebrows too. It all checks out.
That's
A Whipple gossip podcast.
Hey, it looks like that's a baby and it's mine.
Welcome to the Whip House, the only place we talk about Whipple. Anyway, so Stuart, what happens after she meets Tyler? There's instant chemistry, right?
Yep. So that, and we get a little bit of a cat and mouse because we know that she's got a scheme going on. We don't quite know what it is yet. And Tyler is also a thief. So they're like, both of them are trying to play the other one, I guess. It's kind of weird. It's hard to read. She takes him on a tour of the home. She keeps trying to give him booze. She has a couple different costume changes.
She lifts an enormous barbell, like a cartoonishly large barbell.
It's hilarious. There's a lot of weird music. There's jokes about lifting weights. She's like clearly stalking him, and the home, it's like a very long, slim home with windows all over it.
Yeah,
And a lot of neon.
a lot of neon. Yeah, and a very small kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's more. It's like a kitchen nook, and it's like I guess it's for someone who does not cook.
but
Yeah,
yet she
she
does
has
cook.
half of a grapefruit and what's her breakfast?
And an egg, but then she eats human beings later.
Yeah.
So
True.
And
That's
she's
true.
such an
does.
excellent cook.
That's
They
true.
Go on
Yeah.
and on about it.
And it's not. I'm just gonna tell you, there's not enough space in that kitchen to cook a human being. I know she butchers them in the garage, but it's just not enough space to do the work you need.
Well, and at one point she says that he ate perhaps a combination of 5 different people, which would mean she's juggling 5 different bodies in that kitchen.
Yeah,
And
it seems
also,
unrealistic. I think we
that's-
found the
It's like
problem with the
human
movie, guys.
gumbo or something. She
I
was
mean, that's
cooking up.
human gumbo. Don't knock it till you try it.
And that's-
I mean,
That's just showing off her affluence too, because I can't believe that those 5 different people tasted different enough that there's any point other than showing off.
well, no, she fed one of them nothing but acorns, and one of them nothing but like
okay.
pecorino cheese. Like it brings a slightly different flavor to the flesh.
wow.
and she
Didn't
also-
know we
so-
were doing a Hannibal podcast all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, the movie kind of it goes from being like cut rate American Psycho to cut rate Hannibal at a certain point.
Yeah.
But and she also she's trying to mess with him now, and she tells him she can fly, and then laughs at him like I can't fly. And that was the point when I was watching the movie where I felt like a hostage, where it felt like when you were like at a friend takes you to another friend's house that you don't know that well, and those friends start getting high, and the friend who brought you is like, I just got to go use the bathroom, and leaves, and suddenly it's 45 minutes later, and you don't know what's going on and why you're with these people. That's what this movie felt like to me.
I apologize about that, Elliot. I just had to go to the bathroom for a long time.
I mean, at a certain point, I was just worried about you. And then you came back and you were all sweaty and you were like, we got to go. I clogged it. And I was like, thank goodness.
And I tried to like pick some of it up and put it out the window, but I couldn't get the window all the way up. So I was just like pushing it through like a mail slot.
Do you think do you think that was a scene that was originally written for Dumb and Dumber and then Jeff Daniels was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Put as many fart noises underneath my
This
violent
movie
diarrhea.
has a lot of fart noises. So let's see. So she finally gets Tyler to have a drink with her. Of course, he gets drugged. He passes out. She has another costume change and leaves him on the couch. And then she gets her nails fixed, and she has a fun scene with her nail stylist. And then she does a comedic workout routine with a ton of sound effects. There's a lot of boings.
Oh wait, is this the scene where she's like in like this like thong unitard?
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of like weird sound effects.
Yeah,
added.
it's like she was like, I ran out of money for the 80s pop hits, so I got to do the Hanna-Barbera sound effects CD.
Well, I kind of felt like this was like the humble brag of movie scenes because it's clear that she wanted to show off like, oh, I've got a good body, but I'm gonna undercut it by putting a lot of like fart noises underneath it or whatever.
I think they were like, this scene isn't playing for comedy like I thought it would.
Yeah.
We need to juice it up, right?
Yeah, I mean-
I'm the only one here who isn't a comedy writer, so
Yeah.
maybe you guys can correct me.
That's true. Hallie, as a professional, if you had a scene that wasn't working, would you just throw a bunch of Hanna-Barbera cartoon sound effects underneath?
Yeah, that sounds funny.
Like a squeaky door while she's doing her squats.
Yeah. The like bongo running sounds of a Flintstone jumping up in the air and running away. Yeah, sure.
Wait, but then isn't the following scene when she's like, I really have to take a shit. And then she goes to take a shit, but then it cuts to her and she's like also masturbating?
Yeah. I think
Now,
that might be.
I was
yeah.
wondering if at first I'm like, is she using her arm to like coax the shit out?
Again, something Jeff Daniels was asked to do in Dumb and Dumber and said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Which reminds me of back in high school, my friend Jim had us all convinced that there was a part of your taint that if you pushed on it, it would make you it would make you shit super fast. And we're like, I don't believe you. And he's like, I'll show you. And I'm like, that's not gonna happen. And then one guy, Doug, was like, I tried it, dude, and it works. And I'm like, I don't believe you though.
Yeah.
Oh man, the turbo
and-
shit button.
For months, you're just pressing every single point, trying to, and then like you're like, maybe I have to be more exact, and you're using chopsticks to try to get like this, just the one pour.
And
know?
you're making little X's on all the spots you've covered so you don't retrace your
yeah,
steps.
and
I wasn't
Day
for the first
32,
week, and then I'm
quadrant,
like, I'm such a
quadrant
fool.
12, no luck.
yeah, and Pete Postlethwaite sticks his head on the toilet and goes, he's trying different places. He's learning. Clever girl.
Okay, so so she, at this point, she makes a casserole out of human flesh, and she wakes Tyler up to join her. I wrote down she's like bragging about how smart she is, and she says that she has an IQ of 173, which again I'm like, you could juice that up a little, lady. Like that's not like crazy high. It could go over like 200.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, like what? 125 or above is genius. I feel.
I mean,
like
I feel like if you're already putting cartoon sound effects on your workout, just say you got an IQ of 350. Like,
Yeah.
go
That's
for
what
it.
I'm saying.
Go for it.
Yeah.
It's already so goofy.
wait, not 125. Anyway,
And it's around now when, you know,
Dan has an IQ of 125.
He is.
they told me I was a genius.
Tyler obviously is weirded out because he knows he's been drugged. He wants to get the fuck out of there. And then, of course, Catherine's friend, lover, accomplice character arrives, and they convince Tyler to stay by, I don't know, like implying there's a threesome that's going to happen.
I mean, it's implying it. They almost state it outright. You know.
And I missed this new character's name.
She's Yu Yan is her
Okay.
name. Yeah, and she speaks mostly in
Almost
Chinese,
exclusively Mandarin, right?
in Mandarin to and Louise Linton speaks back to her in, or whatever the character's name is, Catherine, in Mandarin.
Catherine Black,
and,
yep.
And they just are talking openly in Mandarin about how they're going to eat this guy, and he's like, hey, well, you know, da, 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 da. Like it goes on for a while.
Mandarin, huh? Well,
This
So
is this is after the weird non sequitur bit about how he fixed a child's bike that happens to be in her kitchen, right? and I don't know
Well,
why
that
it's
was
there.
the first indicator,
It's her nephews.
Elliot, that she sees that there's some value in this man.
Yeah, demonstration of value, dude.
No, but why does she have a child's bike? in
It's
her-
her
don't know.
nephews.
She doesn't really have nephews,
Yes,
though,
she
right?
does. I think.
Like, anyway, it's just a.
Wait, do you
it's a
think
weird,
the sister character is completely made up?
No, I think it's real. I think
Okay.
it's real because I thought she was made up, maybe, but then there's the bike, and then also it's in the same breath as she's talking about her granny, we later learn is not made up. So I feel like it's all
Okay,
real.
maybe when she talks about family tree. All I know is he refers to the bike's pedals as going anti-clockwise, which is not a thing that I've ever heard
Yes.
anyone say.
Yes, at that point I'm like, did they make this movie in Canada? What's going on? Yeah, so I mean, I think that's kind of interesting because her character, for a person who is like super rich and murders people, she's not like a good liar, right? Like she's pretty
no.
she's pretty open about everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I just assumed that the story about her sister was true.
Okay.
So they have a lovely dinner of human meat, and it's here where we get another bit of
Which they eat with chopsticks, right? That was weird.
I think so.
It's just the preparation style, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
And
was
this is
very
also.
pale meat. It looked like tofu. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I haven't eaten human testicles. Maybe when prepared a certain way, they look.
I mean,
like
I've got to
tofu.
assume they were not eating real human meat on camera, so I think probably whatever meat they were doing was
I
pale.
don't
It was
know.
maybe chicken or
With
something.
as much money as
That's
they
what
have,
Steve
you'd think they'd
Mnuchin
go
likes
the
to
extra
see.
mile.
That's fair. That's fair. They could have done it. And he gives her some solid investment advice, right?
We find out that he's a gamer, which was
Which really turns her on for some
does.
reason.
Well, this scene makes me mad because like Louise Lynn's character is impressed. Like one of her lackeys calls is like, "Oh, this stock of ours is dropping. What should I do with it?" And she wants to sell, and he explains like, "No, you should hang on to that one for a while." And his brilliant analysis is like that a big game that's going to be good is coming out soon, and it's like if this was a big enough investment that she's getting a call about it at dinner, they will know enough to be like, oh, what's the game release schedule? Is a good game gonna come out? Like this is not a fucking genius stock tip that he comes out with.
Hey, look.
yeah, he's just a subscriber to GamePro magazine.
Yeah, he's a subscriber to GamePro, so he gets that extra page that they put in that gives you all the extra information. Yeah.
And it sometimes comes with a CD-ROM for you to play demos of your favorite PS1 games.
It sounds like a good deal.
So of course at this point,
Dan, have you thought about subscribing to GamePro? Because I'd love to hook you up. Hey, they call me GamePro Kalen, and I dabble in selling GamePro subscriptions. Hallie, Stu, Dan, are you ready to take your gaming to the pro level with GamePro magazine?
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Hallie is ready.
yeah, Hallie and I are ready.
So
I think
it's
Dan's
convinced.
the holdout over here.
Yeah, Dan, what's the matter? Don't you see what your friends are ready to take their gaming to the pro level?
He seems comfortable at the amateur level for some reason.
If you want to stay with Game Am, not a magazine, just a poor, pitiful way of life, sure. But if you're ready to level up to Game Pro, give me a call.
Okay, I'll keep it in mind. Thanks.
I think it's very funny that there was a Game Pro magazine back when you could not be a professional video game player, but now you can. And I don't know if that magazine's still around.
Print magazines are having a rough time.
Maybe only the people who are real professionals get it. Maybe it's like a private
It's
subscription.
like the Cook
yeah.
Report or one of those things where you have to subscribe to a newsletter.
yeah. Wait, you can get the Cook Report, can't you?
Yeah, if you subscribe to it,
But I'm saying maybe it's like a
secret one.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like
Hey, Dan.
Raya. You have to apply for it.
Dan, don't you
Yeah,
want to be cool
exactly.
and get a secret magazine? It's called Game Pro.
Is it about video games? Because I kind of usually buy one and then sort of am interested in it for a couple of days. I keep thinking like, oh, this is the one that got me back into gaming. Then I'm like, oh, I forget that I own it and I stop playing and I don't care.
And
So
you're just
say it
stuck
like a
with
real
this.
pro.
You're stuck with this gamer chair and
Yeah.
all the game fuel that you bought.
And you've already
Yeah.
taken out the billboards advertising your Twitch live streams. So you just got to sit there in the chair and be like,
Does
what was I
magazine
doing
have
this?
Any articles about Bubble Bobble?
You are in luck, my friend, because I will go write some right now and print them out on regular printer paper and just stick them into your copy of the magazine.
What a commitment. So at this point, they all do Molly and they dance around in swimsuits and fur coats. To Tyler throws Catherine in the pool, which I assumed, based on everything else about her character, she would be very annoyed by, but she rolls with it. At this point, this is when I start realizing that I don't think we're going to get other locations in this movie.
Nope.
We're like 40 minutes in.
At one point, you see Tyler in his car somewhere, just sitting
Oh,
there
yeah.
parked. But
Eating
otherwise,
Los
tacos,
Feliz.
yeah.
yeah. Oh, and Los Feliz, but it did not look like Los Feliz, though.
No, he's a very messy eater too.
Oh, for sure. Well, he's a slob to her snob. Yeah, it's the yin and yang that way. Opposites attract. MC Scat Cat. You know what I'm talking about.
Beauty and the, yeah.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, otherwise known as Paul Abdul and MC Scat Cat. Have you guys? So the original video for Opposites Attract, MC Scat Cat, he kidnapped Paul Abdul, and then she fell in love with him anyway. Very problematic. But it's the
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast story. Tale as old as time. Song as old as rhyme. That song being Opposites Attract. Anyway, Stuart.
So this is around. It's around here where we get a fairly chaste, straightforward sex scene. There's a lot of like kissing and like I can only imagine like some super vanilla missionary stuff. What
I just
what are you
love. I
laughing
just
about?
love that you're like the way it was being described. Like you get a chase sex scene, a lot of kissing. Your usual.
Yeah, I mean, but this is a movie that's it's been kind of wacky. It's
Yeah.
been a little silly, and it also is about like a super intense murderess. You would assume that it would have been like, I don't know. I just assumed if she specifically said that like one of her addictions is sex, I would imagine this would have been like more than just like a PG.
Not
what if-
kinky enough, Stewart's.
Yeah.
review.
So I think this is where the intention of the movie, which is to be real, like transgressive and shocking and challenging, meets the rubber hits the road of what Louise Linton actually wants to do with this actor as the creator of the movie. And since she is the director and writer, she can't be blue is the warmest colored into having a more extreme scene than she would actually be comfortable with. So instead, I imagine there were a lot of ground rules about what Westwick could and could not do in this scene. And that's what happened. Or otherwise, the character is a sex addict, but she's addicted to vanilla sex, a real vanilla-holic.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, yeah, you could be an alcoholic, but you only drink like Miller Lite or whatever. It's the
man.
quantity, not the quality.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
feel like
That's a lot of bulk you're
PSA,
putting on, though.
But I'm not sure in which direction, like pro
Yeah.
or against.
but it's one of these things where it is the one part of the movie where it feels like a woman taking control of a film, which is weird since so much of the rest of the film is the movie kind of like ogling her body, but I guess it's on her terms. So I guess if there's anything positive about this movie, it's a woman presenting her body on her terms rather than on the male gaze terms. But otherwise, she's
it
a
on
terrible
the
person.
DVD.
It's a bad movie. So
yeah. Slap it on the poster.
if quote Elliot Kalin of the Flophouse Raves, if there's anything good about this movie, it's a woman taking control of her own body on film.
So, and this is a clear turn in their relationship, because before it was they were like kind of fighting, and it was a little bit of cat and mouse, and she was clearly like stalking him. To what end, we don't quite know yet.
To kill and
But at
eat him,
this point-
probably.
but at this point, she now like they have a very emotional connection in the morning. They seem to actually be like a couple at this point. And then they manage to get she leaves him in the home and goes to the gym, where she murders a rude guy in like I think like the only murder in the movie, which I'm like, I could have used more murders, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
But
I
is
mean,
this
a movie
also-
with madness in the title, you kind of assume there's going to be more murder, unless it's Marble Madness, in which case you expect more marbles.
But during that scene though, that's when he's dancing around, right?
Yes,
That's when
he gets
Twinkle
his,
Toes, yeah.
Yeah.
he gets his big satin robe dance off.
I
Hallie,
loved that.
tell us, this is something for the ladies, right?
I loved that. It was very fun to see him dance, don't you think? In his little
Yeah.
robe and his work
He had like
boots.
Doc Martin boots. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Yeah,
have
I
nothing
mean-
more except it was just fun,
It explains
That
how
was the point,
like
right?
later on he
We were just
clearly
here to have
falls
fun,
for her.
right?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Fun. Like he falls for her later, and it's clearly because he has so much fun dancing around in her house, right?
Yeah. That's right. I can sense that while I was gone, you had a great time dancing.
But when she comes back, she's covered in blood, and they have a big fight because he's being supportive and clingy, and she's a murderer who needs space.
And she's like, if he's around me, I'm gonna eventually murder him, and I love him now, so I don't want to murder him anymore. So I want him to leave. It's some
yeah.
complicated dynamics
Tale as old
going
as
on
time.
in Miyu Madness. Yeah, it tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, lady and the victim.
Tramp.
Yep. So she,
Lady and
so
the
she-
tramp, song
has
as old
like
as
a,
spaghetti.
They
No
call
one
it Bellinate.
No one remembers any of the other scenes. Lady and the tramp.
There was a little Scotty dog that they thought was an ottoman, right? Oh
Yeah.
no, maybe I'm
Yeah.
thinking of Beauty and the Beast now.
There is an
No.
ottoman that's a dog.
Well, there's an
yeah,
Ottoman, yeah,
No,
but there's
but isn't-
also a Scotty dog in Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
There's,
You've com-
there's
you've
the,
combined them
there's the
into-
racist scene at the
Yeah,
near
the
the end.
Siamese.
Right?
Yeah, with Siamese cats, yeah.
cats.
So you've combined them into a movie called Beauty and the Beast and Lady and the Tramp, which is, I guess, is about swinging.
I mean, the fucking Italian chef at the restaurant's happy. Okay, so she has a sad shower montage where she's, she's getting all the blood off her. I think this is when Elliot gets to see her butt, and
But not her boobs. You keep thinking you're going to see her boobs, and then you don't see her boobs.
Because a Secretary of the Treasury's wife has to have some limit, Sally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, and while she's doing that, Tyler steals her car and a bunch of her jewelry and drives away. And he tells his friend, he's like, I got all the stuff. Let's sell it all. Then she realizes that he's robbed her. She starts wearing t-shirts and jeans instead of crazy dresses. She realizes that she's kind of falling for him and is kind of knocked off her game. So she's going to try and track him down and crush him and kill him. So she, finds his phone? How's she track him down?
No, she left
her
a dead
car.
body in the car he stole.
Yeah.
That's why she had to track him down.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I forgot about that too. And yeah, she tracks down his phone and she calls him and is like, "Bring my car back. I've already hacked and figured out all the other addresses you've stolen things from, and I'm going to call the NYPD," which I thought was kind of crazy because they're in Los Angeles. It's totally out of the NYPD's
But
jurisdiction.
they call her on that, right?
That was really funny. I thought that was genuinely funny. And she was like, I'm calling the NYPD. And they were just like, you mean the LAPD, right? And I had been looking at my phone at this point and I was like, wait, that's such a weird joke. That has nothing to do with anything. I
Yeah.
thought it was
Allie,
funny.
I gotta say, there's a joke coming up pretty soon that I laughed fairly hard at, genuinely. So we'll get to that as well.
So she basically blackmails him into giving back her car. So and then she has a montage trying to decide how she's going to murder him. She talks about a bunch of different movies. She talks about a bunch of different weapons.
She's trying to saying she wants a weapon that hasn't been in a movie before, and so she's picking up weapons and saying what movies they're in. And one of them she says is James Bond, which is not a movie.
Well, also, one of the weapons she picks up is just a gun. So then she lists off a bunch of movies that guns have been in.
That's true. And what I like is that a lot of the movies that she lists are like pretty current. Like they're not all classics. So it feels like it's like me, dumb moviegoer, who's doing the movie quiz, and all the answers are the movies that are currently playing at the movie theater. I'm like, thanks. I'm glad I don't need a fucking Criterion Channel subscrition
Yeah,
here to
do this
be able to
jumble.
participate in the quiz.
Finally, a
Did
movie
not
for me.
list a gun in Betty Lou's handbag.
No, that's true.
Omitted.
Forgotten classic. Is Tim Daly in that one?
It's
I remembering
Penelope.
correctly?
What's her name?
Penelope
right?
Ann Miller's the main one, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm thinking
From Kindergarten
I'm thinking
Cop?
of Year of the Comet because she was in that with Tim Daly, but I don't think she was in the other one.
I don't think anyone in the year of the comet has a gun in their handbag.
No. There's a gun.
No, you're thinking of
Comet,
Inner
yeah, Comet.
Space, where a woman has a gun in her handbag.
Yes. I was thinking of outer space, where the planets are.
That makes sense. So he returns back to the home. I think before he even goes inside, he has a fantasy of them hooking up again.
Hey guys, hold up. Just
Breaking news.
okay.
Dan has a
about this
Me You
movie?
Madness scoop. Oh, he's checking his phone.
No, after Penelope Ann Miller.
You heard it here first, folks. It's
After
a breaking
Penelope-
piece of news about the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. We interrupt this previously scheduled episode of the Flophouse to bring you this Betty Lou handbag gun bulletin. We go now to Dan McCoy live in his apartment. Dan?
Guys, you'll never believe what I found out. After Penelope Ann Miller and Eric Ty, who are the leads of the gun and Betty Lou's handbag, who do you think are the next two top billed people in this movie?
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
That's a good guess.
Timothy
Good
Chalamet?
guess. Not such a good guess. He wasn't
gonna
really
say-
operative during these years.
I'm going to say Dick Miller.
no.
Greta Garbo?
Wait, let's keep guessing.
Yeah, let's keep guessing. We'll figure it out.
Elizabeth Shue.
That's a good guess.
Billy Barty?
Andrew McCarthy.
Third and fourth billed in this movie, Alfred Woodard and Julian Moore are the like what
Wow.
fucking star power in the gun and Betty Lou's handbag.
That's how movies work. Oftentimes, before people are famous, they're in other movies too.
No, but
It's
a lot
not
more
all-
that is
it's-
more acting power than I thought
guess
I
so.
was going to find.
It's
when
not all Audrey Hepburn going straight to the top with Roman Holiday. Often people don't debut as the stars
No,
of
it's
movies.
true.
Anyway, a nation reels as this information hits us, this new development in the story of Betty Lou's handbag's gun.
Be with your families tonight.
We'll return with more updates as events warrant. We now return to the previously scheduled episode of the Flophouse Me You Madness.
So Tyler shows up to her home. It's dark. He takes a knife to defend himself. He runs into Catherine, who is wearing a gold facial mask because she thought she had more time to have a facial. But he managed to get there because traffic wasn't as bad as he expected. As somebody who doesn't live in LA, I don't know what that's like. And then they have a little bit of a jokey conversation about how he is wearing the jewelry he stole and how, it actually looks pretty good on him. And,
This scene is the part that I was talking about before that genuinely made me laugh. I thought it was funny when she had all this in her mind based on the Waze estimate, and then he's like, "Oh well, there was an accident that cleared up pretty fast," and so he surprised her while she has her facial mask on, and then they had a dumb end to the scene that I didn't like. But
Is this the
up
one
until
where,
that
where
part-
they say they're the cutest and they just keep saying
that was
over and over
terrible?
again?
That's
That was
later.
the worst.
Oh, that's later.
This
That's
is when her face mask falls off like a piece of bologna.
that was when I
spoken
really
like
laughed.
a woman who said baloney on her face at some point.
It's
But then they
soft.
acted like it was really embarrassing, and I didn't think it was funny anymore.
yeah, he
No.
was. They were making a comment about how it's not a good look, and I'm like, no, she looks like a superhero,
Fine.
kind of like she looks. It looks like a little
Yeah.
domino mask now.
Guys, I have
Yeah.
another gun in Betty Lou's handbag.
Oh wait,
bulletin.
wait.
wanna
We
know-
interrupt. We once again break into this episode of the Flophouse for another update in the ongoing story of the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. Turning now to our Betty Lou handbag correspondent Dan McCoy, who brings us this further development of the story. Dan,
Hey guys, you know what else? You know who else is in this movie? Not only is Meatloaf in it, but Catherine Keener is in the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. More
What?
top shelf acting talent in this film.
you heard it here first. Day 2 in Betty Lou's gun bag handbag gate. Dan McCoy will bring us, I'm sure, more developments as we get through the story of this movie from what year, Dan?
That movie would be from 1992.
A lot of moving developments in the story of this 29-year-old movie. We'll be back with more probably later in the broadcast. We'll have to tell our affiliates that we're going late tonight with this episode of the Flophouse in case there are any
Wait,
more
hold on, before you get
interruptions.
back.
No,
Wait, hold on.
I'm getting further word that Dan McCoy has some new developments. Dan, bring it to us.
Famous musical producer Adam Shankman is also in the gun in Betty Lou's handbag.
And it seems like we're reaching real diminishing returns with the story of the
Yeah.
gun in Betty Lou's
Well,
handbag.
hold on. Frank Welker does a voice.
Okay.
How about that?
Wait,
It'd
he
be
does
more
a
impressive-
voice?
He does a voice in every movie. It'd be more
Right.
impressive if Frank Welker did not appear in the film. He's got a huge filmography. There's one person on Twitter who continues to ask me about Frank Welker, and I'm not sure why.
Why does he just do a voice? Is there like a puppet part of that movie?
I mean, he's known as a voice actor, but
I mean, he might have done an animal
Scarlett's-
sound effect. He does a lot of animal
See
sounds.
the gun?
He might have done the
Scarlett's
gun
vocal
sounds.
is what he's credited as.
What is it?
Scarlett's vocal.
Well, I mean, he does a lot of ADR.
Yeah.
But
Right.
well,
If I know Frank Welker, known for doing a lot of animal sounds, Scarlett's vocal, I would hazard a guess that perhaps the joke is that someone's singing voice sounds like an animal of some kind.
or perhaps Scarlett is a dog
Yes.
or an animal of some kind. Yes.
I guess we'll just have to watch the movie to find out.
So stay tuned, folks. We'll be back later in the show as we watch all of The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag live on the air. It's the only way to get to the story. Stick with us. We're the only network covering this ongoing story of the 1992 Colt's favorite? I don't know how you describe it exactly. Sleeper hit it seems a bit much. The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag.
I remember enjoying it on VHS at the time, but I don't think it was popular at all.
Dan McCoy raves. Enjoyed it on VHS at the time.
That's on the poster.
So join us for day 3 later on of the continuing story of The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag. We now return to the Flophouse, already in progress.
Okay, so she reneges on her deal, and she is not going to give him. She's not going to give him or delete the information about his past crimes. And then
Because he finds the bodies.
Oh, has he already found the? Does he find the bodies at this point?
Yeah,
I
did he
feel
find
like
the
that's-
freezer case at that point?
I thought she said that's why she took it. That's why she said she was going to kill him, because she wasn't actually going to kill him, but then he saw the
Oh.
bodies.
I don't know. I feel like she's like struggling with whether or not she wants to kill him or not. And she stabs him with a broken martini glass and then selects a knife to murder him. Then they have this like wine and white sofa standoff scene where he's he keeps
fuck
threatening to
that.
pour wine on her white sofa.
Well, and the whole joke of it is just them arguing whether it's a sofa or a couch, which, I got to say, was not aware that was a distinction. In America, it's not used as a distinction, but there is a distinction. A sofa has arms. So,
Oh. And a couch has tentacles.
Yeah.
Couch has legs.
That's why a couch
This
is
couch has legs.
sexier.
And so
It has legs that go all the way up to the place where you sit.
that's Hallie's new character of the vaguely creepy furniture salesman. You should do that in your SNL audition.
Okay.
Here's another thing you could put your butt on. A chair.
So she stalks him around the house with a curling iron. She beats him up a bunch. I think this is when he finds the dead bodies, right? In her basement.
There's that nunchuck scene where there's a really bad body double. So because they're only filming below her neck, but wearing this expensive dress.
Yeah, like I feel like you could see the Ninja Turtle costume underneath the dress. As she's playing with nunchucks.
So you're saying, they hired a Ninja Turtle as her body double?
Michelangelo, the Ninja Turtle with nunchucks. Yeah.
the party.
The only
one.
way to do it was to dress up as Michelangelo to get in the character of someone who uses nunchucks.
I mean, I think either one. I'm not sure. They don't show above the shoulders, so there's a chance that it could just be a guy in a Michelangelo costume. It could be Michelangelo, the actual Ninja Turtle. It's always possible. You can't rule it out. You can't prove prove something's negative in this case.
You can't. There's no way to prove it. They can't disprove something.
So she starts. So he finds her her freezer full of dead bodies, and this is where she goes on this justification for all the people she's killed, and she's listing all they list like what 24, maybe 36 different parts of different bodies, and she's explaining the crimes of each of the people she's killed. She's like Dexter, right? She's a killer killing other killers.
Yep.
Well,
yep.
and this is
Dexter's
another one.
Laboratory.
There are many scenes in this where I'm like, okay, you're close to doing it, where I'm like, okay, I get it. It's kind of there, because for a long time she just it's rapid fire editing. She's explaining why she killed various people, and it's kind of funny, I would say, or in a better movie maybe I would find it funny. But then she gets to
it has the structure and form of jokes.
Yeah.
yes, but then she gets
And there
to a
was
point
there was something that happened in the middle of it. What was it?
It turns into a
that
PSA
ruined
about
it.
that turns into a PSA about not leaving a dog in a hot car. That part.
That was that, but also there was something else where he made a funny noise or something.
Well, I don't know about that, but I was gonna say that the place where it falls apart. I think that the PSA is good. I think the repeating things is okay. But then there's also a point where she's just like, that one was a Republican, like a crickets sound, and then this one was a Democrat. This like it veers off the idea of like actual justifications to like her sort of winking at the audience, like, remember, Steve Mnuchin's my husband. Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah, it's and that leads me to something I wanted to say before. Do you guys think Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory grew up to be Dexter, the serial killer from Dexter? Because they both have
100%.
sisters.
100%, yeah.
You think so? Yeah.
Yep.
That same
100%.
casual disregard for human life.
Yeah, and he had
Hallie
it's like a
looks
Flowers
like-
for Algernon thing where he got dumber, so he lost his ability to make cool inventions.
I get it. And he gained a dark passenger. Okay, so yeah, I think that was when she says that was her. He was a Republican. It's like it's like you don't. Wait a minute. I'm not. It's one of those things where I'm like I'm trying to figure out what the purpose is of that moment, like because she is married to a Republican. Like it's. And you know that, and it's I don't know. I don't get the joke.
Yeah. And it's around now. She's chasing him around her house, and he like drops his cell phone, and she opens it up. I guess he doesn't password protect his phone, which is stupid.
I mean, it comes automatic at this point. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
there is a phone you can just open up and it goes straight to your text messages.
Yeah. Where he has messages and like thought pics from some lady that he's been texting with, and that does not make Catherine happy. Although she was already trying to kill him, I think this has given her additional fuel that he.
Well, also the fact that they just met the day before.
Yeah.
Like she can't really
Yeah.
get mad about messages he received before yesterday.
But you can't explain, like you can't logically explain jealousy, Elliot. It just
the
happens.
chambers of
you
the
know?
human heart.
It's true. The heart wants what it wants. Yeah.
So they get in a
this
fight
case,
in the
Steve
living
Mnuchin.
room again, and in the fight she manages a pretty impressive maneuver where she manages to fart directly in his face. Wasn't expecting it to happen.
No, he's
Some
gonna have to
fucking
wonder if it's
Primal
one of
Rage
those-
shit.
If it's what you think she picked it up from Primal Rage? She just loved that game so much.
Yes, she obviously loves gamers.
Yeah. Or is it something that just happened in the filming and she said, no, leave it in?
Steve says leave it in.
Okay, so then we find out that they continue to talk. We find out that Tyler, in one of his previous grifts, had stolen her granny's life savings. A little part of me is like, how is this such a big deal? Because she's
Yeah,
got like
you're so rich.
millions of dollars. What? Yeah, it's not like granny. Like, you know, she can share her money, right? There's not like a rule against sharing with
I
granny.
don't know. Don't look at me.
You can
I don't
share
know
with
how
Granny,
she's got
right?
her
I'm not a
finances
granny
set up.
lawyer. I don't know what you can legally can't
Is there a
share
rule
with
against
them.
shared with granny?
I'll look in my Airbud book and see what the rules say.
Okay, I mean, I don't trust that.
Airbud's Guide to Laws That Aren't in the Rule Book.
So they fight more, they chat, they tell jokes. He runs away from her and he gets distracted by her fancy car and sports memorabilia garage.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
Yeah,
A signed basketball and a football and shoes?
And
shoes, and
fancy
you're like,
cars.
Yeah, it's crazy. She keeps attacking him. He keeps running, but at the same time, he's like becoming more and more understanding. Like he clearly has a thing for her. He doesn't like. At first, I was like, is he just trying to survive? I don't think so. I think he is trying to survive, and the only way he can do that is by convincing her to love him. Because without her, he'll die. So they express their love
And
for each
possibly
other.
with her.
I think that's true. They somewhere in there is where they do the
Gotta
"we're so
die
cute"
somehow.
bit that
Yeah.
was horrible.
But also, like, this is way back. We skipped. I don't know when it happened, but I referenced the title, and the title is meant to be like me, you. It would be madness.
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
idea.
Well, they have this cute bit we mentioned where he's like, "We're the cutest," and she goes, "We are the cutest." He's like, "The cutie cutest." She's like, "The cutie wootest," and it goes on forever.
To
It's-
foodie cuties.
I
To
mean,
feed
this
these.
it literally sounds like something you would do, Elliot.
But I would do it for the purpose of annoying people. But it reminds me of in a lot of modern
So
comedies.
that's okay.
That's what makes
Yeah, 'cause
Elliot
I'm
mad.
enjoying it then.
Because
I
makes
enjoy
Elliot
annoying
mad
people.
because he sees so much of himself in it.
Yeah. I'm like the me in You Madness was me the whole time. But it reminds me of a lot of modern comedy movies. They'll improv a lot of different scenes, and they'll be just they're all funny. Put them all in. Put them
Yeah.
all in. And this feels like that, but these people are not comedians. So it's like not funny. It's just put them all in. Put all the dumb things in. The things that don't work
And
aren't
have
funny.
it be two people talking about how cute they are, which everyone loves.
Yeah, and have it happen in when you've just seen these people have the same basic conversation 4 times, and he's been
Yeah.
running around being chased by her for forever, and we just want the movie to be over at this point.
Yes.
You know,
And
unless
so
there's
they-
new rooms in the house you're going to show me, which there are
But
not.
that's so much of
Or
it. It feels like
sports
the
sign stuff.
Yeah, or more sign stuff. Yeah.
Elliot's like, I'm thinking of renting this house. Please go behind that one door that you haven't opened yet.
Yeah, I want the walkthrough. I just thought of a joke that I should have pitched when I was in the punch up room for Me You Madness. I forgot to tell you guys I was in the punch up room for this one.
Oh, wow.
Is that the sports memorabilia? She also should have had
now is
a
it
horse's.
fucked up that you're doing a podcast
Yeah,
about it
seems a
now,
little
or
weird, but-
I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard of more unethical things. Anyway, so she should have had a case with a the bottom of a horse's leg cut off, and on the hoof it would be signed Secretariat, and she has like one of Secretariat's hooves signed by him. Ultimate memorabilia piece.
that's a good joke. So
Yeah.
they eventually run out of rooms, and they have a final showdown outside by the pool. She has a crossbow. He has what, like a little knife?
Yeah.
Butter knife.
Yeah, like a butter knife.
Yeah.
She's like, at one point, she's so excited that she's like fighting him with a curling iron. I think the movie really overstates the novelty of that as a.
It wasn't
as a
even
murder weapon.
on.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing is it's not plugged in, so I don't know what you're gonna do with it. That's not just hitting somebody. with it.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
whacking him over the head.
It's just a baton at that point.
It might as well be an old lady's umbrella at that point. And I've seen people get whacked over the head with that.
So, and this
Oh,
it's
Dan's
around
looking at his
here-
phone. Dan, any updates from Betty
Okay,
Lou's
I'll just
handbag?
say, I do have a gun. Betty Lou's handbag update. Does William Forsythe do anything for you? How about that? Dynamically entertaining, heavyset U.S. actor with piercing eyes. This is IMDb's description.
Yeah, Bill Forsythe. Yeah,
Really,
sure.
William
okay.
really
Forsythe has
churching him up a bit.
A superb talent for playing some truly unlikable and downright nasty characters that dominate the films in which he appears! Exclamation point.
So not so much an update on the movie, The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag, but on an actor who's in it.
Character actor William Forsythe.
Okay, so Catherine and Tyler express their love for each other. They end up together. We get a little bit of a flash forward. They decide to get married. They end up together and they fix their lives. They
Yeah.
cease to be anything like their original characters. We get an update on their new routine, which sounds super fun. And you get that same vibe whenever you see a new couple, and you're like, just you wait until it goes to shit.
Well, and it's very clear. She very clearly states that she's now on a cocktail of antipsychotic drugs, and that's how she can have this.
That
have
makes
this
sense,
life.
Yeah, well, and during this, the movie like made me like kind of the angriest at it when like there's like a little aside where it's just like about how now that she's healthy, she doesn't, like hey everyone, be nicer to each other, don't judge people for like whether like their political views or whatever, and like knowing who she is and like
Yes.
when this was in production, like how she had gotten ridiculed for, like it's just like, hey, sure, everyone should endeavor to treat each other with a recognition of our common humanity, but also like we don't dislike you for no reason. Like this is good.
Yes.
You've done a thing that like, yeah, like that's the problem anyway. So whatever. I'm not gonna
No, you're right.
I'm not gonna rant against President Sex Criminal and his cabinet.
Yeah.
I mean he's out of office, so
So, and then as the credits roll, we get like a fun little montage of their future together. They have a baby. They raise the baby. I stopped kind of paying attention after a little while, so maybe the baby grows up or something.
be.
I
It's
don't
just
know.
it's just assumed that they have a great life from that point on, and it's
Yeah.
you kind of are waiting for the moment when Brazil style it's revealed this is all going on in her head as she
Yes.
sits in the bloody mess of this man she's killed. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know. That's just kind of the end of it. It's just kind of like our love allowed me to go into therapy and become a nice person, and now we're great and we're just rich.
Well, and I mean, like the idea, in so much as this film has any ideas, I think, is that love of any kind is this leap of faith, and like a smarter, better movie. It's a great A great message. Me, you madness. It's like what you're gonna toss that in at the very end. I don't know. I don't know if you've earned having any sort of moral here.
Well, so this because here's what this movie feels like to me. It feels like a college film. This is the film that a college student makes, but it was made by a very rich, approaching middle-aged lady who is married to a government official. And so it's like, I don't know if at this point in life, you're allowed to make the kind of movie that like a junior in college would make, where it's so openly stealing from other people's movies and
Let
it's
me
so
check
messy.
the Airbud rule
And
book.
check the Airbud rule book. Can a lady who should know better be making the same movie that like a 19-year-old would make and be like, I'm saying a lot here. I'm being real edgy. I'm really saying stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
nothing. You know.
Yeah.
I think you can make it. I mean, I think she
I
did.
mean, clearly she did.
did.
It got made. I mean, again, there's no
Guys,
law against it, but should there be?
Before
For
we
the
get
pros,
into-
for saying there should be a law against middle-aged people making this kind of college student movie, Hallie Hagland. Hallie?
I actually, I mean, I guess I feel like I haven't thought through the political implications of the impression I really went away with. But once I realized who she was, I was sort of like, yeah, like do this instead of all the other worse things you could be doing
Yeah,
with your
sure.
power.
That's true. Of all the
enough.
bad things Steve Mnuchin has done, producing crappy movies, which he's also done, is kind of the least bad thing.
And I found it fascinating, like her determination and her weirdness and her mediocrity all combined. It's like a very fascinating document of all that stuff, of just like executing something and not being that good at it, but putting everything you have into it. It was just like you could tell how much she wanted it to be made and she cared about it. And it was like, it's weird to know something that personal about this woman.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
little bit like if the movie The Queen of Versailles was about making a movie if the women in that, instead of building the biggest house in America, had been making a movie, like this is what it would have turned into. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's fascinating that this is like a very personal, it seems, document from this
Yeah.
lady, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're in like. Let's go into final judgments.
I know it's not not officially supposed to say this stuff until Dan calls final judgments, which he now is.
Let's go into final judgments. Whether this is a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie,
Or if it's the gun and
kinda
Betty Lou's
like.
handbag.
I'll get back to Gun and Betty Lou's handbag in a second. But
Oh, good.
Please.
Shit.
I feel like
Okay. Should I
there's
change
still
my pants?
there's still a splinter of wood left in the bottom of that barrel.
but I wanted to say, like, I wanted to get into it because I think that I'm pretty simpatico with what Hallie is saying right now, like in terms of my reaction to this, where there's part of me that almost enjoys the movie because like she so desperately wants to make it work. And like I think her acting is by far the weakest part of all of it. But like I think that there's ability there that you see in the movie where you're like, okay, well, you got the idea for like this thing or that thing. And like I could see where like, you know, and the fact that there's so much like desire to make it work, like kind of makes me want to root for it, other than the fact that I don't think I would like this person. And but that is like the part of it that gives it like interest, the fact that it's like, okay, let's look inside this person's mind. And the weird thing about it is it seems like it wants to be satire, but the problem is she is in the group that she wants to be satirizing. So it is the equivalent of one of those Saturday Night Live sketches where someone goes on and like tells some like mildly insulting jokes about themselves and they're like, see, I get it, like I'm not so bad, like
Yeah.
So anyway,
I mean-
good bad movie, but don't pay for it. That's what I have
I mean,
to say.
that's it's like my feelings about the movie are so separate from it's hard to separate from it. I always say you got to separate the art from the artist. You know, it's the only way I can watch certain movies because they were made by terrible people. But in this one, it's so difficult. But it's also, there are things in it where I'm like, there are parts of it where it feels a little bit like if John Waters was doing this scene, it would be the same exact scene. Like to have a scene where she is sitting on the toilet, going to the bathroom, and watching a TV screen in her bathroom that just has stock updates, and she's masturbating to it, is like as like on the nose, that kind of satire as you can get. In the hands of somebody else, I would have been like, that's a crazy scene. It totally works. But here It doesn't
Yeah.
really work. But part of that's because I know, like you're saying, she is the person that she's satirizing, which means it's hard to take the movie as anything more. At times where it felt like she was both trying to curry favor with the world, being like, see, I get it, rich people are bad, but also that she's trying to like rub your nose in the fact that she like, there's a part of me that where she's like, I can make a movie about how people like me are awful and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm telling you how awful we are and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
Look
and
at
we're
how
gonna get a
terrible
happy
we are.
ending at the end too.
Yeah, and you know what? Because
Suck
I'm
it.
rich, I can do whatever I want. So it doesn't matter. You don't like the ending is made me so mad for that reason where it was like, but I'm rich, so I get to be happy forever, and it was, Anyway, so it's hard for me to take that from it. But honestly, the first 6 minutes of the movie, I was like, you know what? I'm into this movie. It's all neon. It's all 80s synth music, and it's like super fast cut. And this lady's voice is very weird. And, but then at a certain point, I was like, then it was when I was like, wait a minute, this is just American Psycho. And then she says, but I'm not ripping off American Psycho. And I was like, movie, forget it. You're too aware of how crappy you are to get away with how crappy you are. But I would say it's a good bad movie.
Yeah, I feel like if this were my friend who made this movie and I saw it, I would have like an incredible generosity of spirit about it. And
Yes,
I would be
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of, I don't know, there was like a lot of pretty good stuff in there. It'll get like eventually, if they keep making movies, they'll get there.
They'll figure it. I mean, clear, and it looks great. Like she hired professional people to make it, so right off the bat, it looks better than most independent vanity projects.
Yeah, but I also think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you're giving her too much credit for trying to make a statement about rich people or trying to be like in on the joke about rich people, because she's like, if her past is any indication, she's like so lacking in self-awareness and like how she puts herself out there, that I feel like the attempt, I don't know, I'm just like, I feel like I said it before, but like making this is so much better than like writing a memoir where she's talking about how like, she was the object of desire for like, this African village where people wanted to kidnap her or whatever.
Is that what the book is about?
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
how she was in. Yeah, it's offensive.
What?
Ask Lauren about it sometime. That's where I
Okay.
got all my information about it.
I will.
It's funny
It seems
stuff.
like it's right up her alley. But it does feel like it is. I guess you're right. It feels like the way she kind of shows off how the stuff she's got is by making a movie about a killer who has the stuff she's got or something like that. I don't know. There's a certain kind of like rich bad person glamour that there's a lot of in our media right now, and I feel like the Kardashians are a lot of that too, where it's a lot of like, we're rich, we're crazy, we do whatever we want, and we can do it because we're rich and we're not good people, and like they.
But I mean,
maybe
but I
she's
mean,
But I
doing
don't think
with
that they think they're bad. I don't know. I feel like it was more of like, you sort of write the world that you know. And so she was like, let me imagine, what's the craziest scenario I can come up with with a very limited imagination. Well, this is the world I live in, like rich people that have all this nice stuff. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, does it help? Did you read the backstory about how she said she passed out in a hot car and had a vision of a Native American man telling her to make this movie?
Oh, wait, is that true?
It's something like that. Let me look it up real quick.
What?
Hold on.
Okay, hold on.
Stuart,
I
give
feel like-
your final
Stuart, give
judgments,
your-
and I'll look this up.
so what I will say is, I mean, they're clearly trying to make some kind of a satire. Like some of her like rich, over the top rich behavior is intended to be a joke, but I feel like that's an example of somebody who's like, I know people just like this, not realizing that she herself is.
Yeah, that's true. I bet that's a good way to put it.
But yeah, I mean, the people who made this movie are bad, but this movie is kind of a fun bad
Yeah, it's-
movie.
Sort of fascinating.
It's
I mean, if you can,
kind
if
of
you can-
fascinating.
I feel like if you can separate it from the person, then this is a good one to watch with a group of people and be like, "What? Dude, that's crazy."
It's really the problem. The thing that keeps it from being a good bad movie for me is that it's actually very boring to watch alone.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like the problem with a lot of good bad movies is that you want to be able to turn to somebody on your couch slap him on the arm and say, "Did you see that?"
Get a load.
Yeah.
Elliot,
that.
Did you find what you were looking for?
This is according to the IMDb trivia. Louise Linton came up with the concept for You Me now this calls it You Me Madness, which is not the name of the movie. But after falling asleep in a hot car following a trip to the pharmacy, she described a Doors-like vision of an indigenous man telling her to make a movie about a girl boss serial killer. So she did.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay.
I do have one final bulletin from the gun and Betty Lou's handbag.
Let's have it. Back to America's Betty Lou Gun Handbag News Center. I'm Elliot Halen throwing to Dan McCoy, who has another update for us.
Hey! Did you happen to know that Academy Award nominee Kathy Moriarty was in the gun and Betty Lou's handbag?
Well, the bulletins keep coming in. I think we're going to be here all night. Why don't we go back to your regularly scheduled program and we'll just save up some of these bulletins and maybe release them all.
Elliot's taking his tie off.
Yeah, somebody put a pot of coffee on because something tells me the story of Betty Lou's handbag's gun is not over yet.
Elliot's texting his wife to leave dinner in the oven for him. He's not coming home till late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he's at his own home.
Hello, I'm Riley Smurl.
I'm Sydney McElroy.
And I'm Taylor Smurl.
And we host Still Buffering, a cross-generational guide to the culture that made us.
Every week, we share media that made us who we are. Things like Archie Comics.
Sailor Moon.
And lots of Taylor Swift.
And now that Riley's an adult, it comes with 100% more butts.
And now I am totally comfortable with it.
So check out new episodes of Still Buffering every Thursday on MaximumFun.org.
Butts, butts, butts. Join in, Riley. Butts, butts, butts,
Butts, butts, butts, butts, butts, butts, butts, butts, butts.
Hi, I'm Joe Firestone.
And I'm Manolo Moreno.
And we host Dr. Game Show, a podcast where listeners submit games and we play them regardless of quality, with a dozen listeners from around the world.
We've had folks call in from as far as Sweden, South Africa, and the Philippines.
Here's an example. This is a game we've played called Cotton Candy Chicken Nuggets, where you have to sing any 8-syllable phrase to the tune of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You have an example, Manolo?
Yeah, here's one. Little baby turkey turnips.
Oh, nice.
Thanks.
Dr. Game Show has new episodes every other Wednesday on Maximum Fun. Check us out.
Please.
The Flophouse is sponsored in part by Magic Spoon. Now, if you've been trying to cut down on carbs or sugar, it might feel like you cannot eat anything anymore. Man, you're talking my language. Well, Magic Spoon has
You mean
zero.
you're talking your own language?
My own language, which is English. Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, 140 calories, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. And if you get the variety pack, you got 4 flavors. You got your cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. And look, they sent us some samples of these things.
Yeah.
I have not eaten a lot of cereal since I was a kid because it seemed like an easy thing that is not the most healthy to cut out, even though they're much more unhealthy things that I have continued to consume. But I was very excited
Dan's
to get
looking
these
at me for support right now.
cereals. And they genuinely are delicious. I have very much enjoyed sampling the Magic Spoons. I like the frosted and the peanut butters.
It like reminds me of took me back to when I was eating colorful cereals more.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to enjoy something that you may think of as sort of a childish treat and not feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to try some of these delicious cereals, again, I'm particularly fond of the frosted and the peanut butter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
MagicSpoon.com/flop is the place to go to grab a variety pack and try it out today. And be sure to use our promo code FLOP at checkout to save $5 off of your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it is backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Now that 100% happiness guarantee again is related to the cereal.
Happiness of the cereal.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
just
it's
want
good that you
like your
mentioned
own
that.
personal happiness. That's another issue. But if you can get your next delicious bowl of cereal at magicspoon.com/flop and use the code FLOP to save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode. Elliot, your turn.
Speaking of your personal happiness in a non-serial sense, we are also sponsored in part by BetterHelp Online Therapy, and this is an ad for BetterHelp with a P, therapy. Look, it doesn't matter who you are or what you have in your life. Life can be stressful. As we saw, even for Louise Linton, life is apparently stressful at times, and she just needs to make a movie to get out of her system. You may be feeling depressed right now, or you may not. You may just be feeling down, or you may not. You may feel like you kind of don't know what's going on. I know that sometimes I get very stressed, and rather than feeling what you would call an emotion, it just becomes kind of a cloud or a mist between me and the rest of the world. And it's something that I have trouble getting through on my own. And the only way I can get it through is to kind of unload it and get it out by talking to somebody who is not a part of my life, someone who I know can talk to me in an unbiased way and listen in an unbiased way, someone who doesn't have a stake in me and so isn't going to judge me or take sides or anything. It's just very helpful, and a lot of people who have never tried it before, I think, will be surprised by it. Now, I have, again, not used BetterHelp's specific therapists, but I have used therapy many times to get through these kind of gray times, these kind of like descending fogs, and BetterHelp, if you've never used therapy before, it might be a good way to go into it. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. Whatever is the method you feel most comfortable in reaching out to someone. It's more affordable than in-person therapy, and at this point, you might feel more comfortable doing it than in-person therapy, sharing a room with somebody. See if it's for you. We're sponsored by BetterHelp, and Flophouse listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/flop. Have your first session in under 48 hours and 10% off your first month at BETTERHELP, as in please help me.com/flop. And again, cannot say enough. If you feel the need to talk to somebody, then feel that need.
Do it.
And you have to do it. There's no, the only downside is that you might be like, okay, well, I got it off my chest at least. There's no, there's nothing that hurts from getting out the thing that might be bothering you. And whatever way you choose to do it, it's good and it will help you and is worth doing. So why not try it with betterhelp.com/flop? And if that's not the way that works best for you, find another way to do it. I think it'll help you out. Stuart?
Yeah, we've addressed your cereal happiness needs and your non-cereal happiness needs. Stuart, I believe you have a Jumbotron.
Jumbotron. Okay, speaking of happiness, happy anniversary. This is a message for Lev, and this is from Gene. We've been married 9 whole years. That's almost a decade of dog and rabbit shenanigans. Cooking experiments and road trips in questionable roadside motels. And, of course, movie nights. From Bloodsport to My Octopus Teacher. The whole movie canon, yeah. You've never led me astray. I'm looking forward to the next 9 years and beyond. Oh, that's adorable.
So that's serial happiness, the rest of your life happiness, and relationship happiness. We did it, guys. The happiness trifecta. All of them.
Elliot, do you have anything to plug?
Nothing in particular to talk about except the show I wrote for on Fox, Housebroken, continues Monday nights at 9 o'clock on Fox. Check your local Fox affiliate. If you like dogs telling jokes, and I don't know why you wouldn't, then watch this show. It's called Housebroken. And, of course, Maniac New York, my comic book with Andre Moody from Aftershock Comics. It's on comic book stores now. The trade paperback will be coming out later this year, but if you just can't wait, pick up those single issues.
Get the floppies, yeah. And I'd like to promote, my wife has been doing a podcast these last few months I think she has almost 25 episodes, more now. It's called I Know the Owner, and it is a longtime bartender, bar owner, talking to other bartenders and bar owners about bar stuff. And it's fun conversations. And if you've been missing that kind of like the sound or feel of having a conversation in a bar, this might bring you back and or shed some light on the industry a little bit. I am a, let's say, frequent guest. So if you're not tired of me yet, maybe you can test that. So check it out. I Know the Owner, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, sometimes we get letters from listeners like you.
What?
Here are some of them.
It's
How about
mailbag
that?
madness. That's a great.
How
Yeah,
about-
that's a good one. Here's some of them. Yeah.
Here's some of them. My catchphrase. This is from Liz.
I
Last name
carry
without-
jelly beans in my pocket. Here's some of them. Dan kneels down and takes off his shoe. I have 10 toes. Here's some of them.
Half of them, to be precise. Liz, last name withheld, writes, "Hello, and thank you for years of laughs. I'm writing to recommend a movie to flop, perhaps with rom-com special guest Hallie. After years of my Catholic husband showing me all the Christmas movies I missed as a kid, we set out to find a Hanukkah movie this year. Perhaps something we could one day show our interfaith daughter. We failed miserably, but the most spectacular failure of all was Mistletoe and Menorahs. I realize Lifetime movies are super easy targets, but it would truly delight me to watch Elliot take on a movie containing the line, 'Hanukkah is so random.'"
Wait,
Wait,
what?
is
There's
Lacey
nothing random
Chabert
about
in
Hanukkah.
that?
Wait, there's reasons
What?
behind everything in Hanukkah.
Who's in that? Is Lacey Chabert in that?
Yeah.
I can only assume.
Yeah, she does a lot of those, right?
I gotta. I
was
gotta go
hoping
to
that-
my gut and Betty Lou's handbag.
Yeah, he's got his IMDb
His
account's
news
fucked
center.
right now.
It's called imgiblhb.com. Internet movie gun and Benny Lou's handbag.com.
Mistletoe and Menorahs.
I was hoping
stars
Mistletoe-
Kelly Jackal and
From Day of the
Jake
Jackal.
Epstein.
Jackal.
I was hoping that
Kelly
Mistletoe and
Jackal.
Menorahs would be a buddy cop movie.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen this.
In contrast to the gun and Betty Lou's handbag, I recognize none of the names in this cast.
Wait, Julianne Moore is in this.
What? Okay, anyway, so paragraph 2, the final paragraph of this letter goes like this.
Paragraph 2, the final paragraph. The saga concludes.
Alternatively, I'd also be thrilled to get any recommendations from Elliot on a less food fight-esque, borderline anti-Semitic movie for Hanukkah to balance out all of the Christmas stuff my daughter, who is taken to dancing to your theme song, we sent a video, will be consuming. Thanks and stay healthy, Liz.
Well, Die Hard is a popular Hanukkah movie, right?
A lot of people don't realize that Die Hard is a Hanukkah movie because it takes place around the same time of year as Hanukkah. Actually, I'm gonna break it down, and I would love to be proven wrong by our listeners if they want to tweet at me or email me, or send a letter to Dan's house at Dan McCoy, 123 Fake Street, Brooklyn, New York, zip code. There are no good Hanukkah movies. There's like 8 Crazy Nights, no thank you, and there's like there's another dumb one, but there's really nothing good. There's no, and Mel Gibson never made that Maccabees movie that he was going to make, so there's really no good Hanukkah movies. So here's what I would tell you to do: just watch the first half of Fiddler on the Roof, go right through the wedding, and the minute you see those Cossacks' torches in the distance, you turn that movie off because it gets sad from that point on. So that's what you do. You watch the first half of Fiddler on the Roof. That's as Jewish as movies get. Now, I know this is a very specific Jewish experience. It is kind of romanticized Eastern European shtetl Ashkenazi Judaism. Maybe you're Syrian Jews or Spanish Jews. It's not the same thing as Ashkenazi Jewish. That's okay. Look, there's not a lot of movies for you either. So just start with this one. Watch the first half of that because most other Jewish movies are either an American Tale or very sad. So I would say just watch the first half.
What's
of
wrong
Fiddler
with
on
an
the Roof.
American Tale? That's why.
Yeah, just
Nothing wrong
watch A Serious Man.
Yeah, watch watch a serious man grapples with Jewish issues in a way that I found interesting, but my wife did not care for. Maybe because, as she put it, every Jewish woman in the movie is a shrew, and the only cool woman is the non-Jewish woman. But anyway, just watch the first half of Fiddler on the Roof, and then when it's time for the sad holidays, Yom Kippur and so forth, you watch the second half of the movie. That's what we do in my house. But I don't know, for Hanukkah, I don't know what I'm going to show my kids. Right now, they're just obsessed with The Nightmare Before Christmas, which means we're singing a lot of Christmas-y songs, but they're also Halloween songs. So I don't know what to tell you.
Interfaith.
Interfaith, both Christmas and Halloween.
This second and final letter is a very sweet letter. It's from Fletcher, last name withheld, who writes, "Ahoy, floppers. Your surprisingly soothing show has been my constant companion through months of working alone from home. Between Elliot's melodies, Dan's sighs, and Stuart's audible handsomeness, you've saved me from endless hours of doom-scrolling and anxiety. I'm usually content to listen passively, but episode 337, Tom and Jerry, compelled me to write. The final minutes of that episode included both a riff on Jerry Orbach's famously donated eyes, and a recommendation.
I'm gonna have to listen to the episode. I don't remember anything about us talking about that.
And a recommendation of the organ theft comedy/horror movie 12-Hour Shift. Through my medical adjacent job, I've met many people who are alive today because of transplants. I was wondering if you might take a moment to tell your listeners about the importance of organ, eye, and tissue donation. Flophouse completists already know that Dan's knee benefited from an ACL tissue transplant. That's true. They may not know that there were more than 39,000 life-saving organ transplants in the U.S. last year, or that more than 80,000 people have their sight restored with cornea transplants each year. The positive effects of these transplants isn't limited to the recipients. Their families and communities benefit from the health and healing made possible by the generosity of donors. A single person can save up to 8 lives through organ donation and improve many more through tissue donation. With bad movies like 7 Pounds out there, we need to share good information. Thanks, and keep on flopping. Fletcher, last name withheld. More transplant information and a donor registry form are online at donatelife.net. So, not the most hilarious of letters, but a important
I don't know.
message.
You read it with like a certain panache. It was pretty funny.
We'll just throw some Hanna-Barbera sound effects on there, and I think it'll work out okay. Even though that's a great message. I'm happy to stand behind, as I'm sure you guys all are, to stand behind the call for organ donation. Look, you're dead. You don't need that stuff. Give it to somebody who can use it. That's what I say.
Yeah, maybe you were shot with the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. A movie that Xander Berkeley was in. You may recognize him from Terminator 2.
Oh, wait.
Todd Voigt. He played Agent Gibbs in Air Force One. Okay. If you were shot by said gun and you need an organ transplant, you would be glad to get one.
You're right. Thanks for looking at me when you said that.
Yep.
Yeah, because Stuart was about to say that he didn't want any, but you're right. He would be very happy to get one.
I don't want any. He said, "Take it and go."
Oh, such nice letters. What's the next part of this podcast, Annie?
The next part is where we recommend.
What if the movie was called The Gum in Betty Lou's handbag?
It's not. I guess it doesn't raise as many questions as the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. I guess what flavor gum?
Sure. Is it wrapped or is it ABC gum?
Gross. Just have an old plug of gum sitting in your bag at the bottom.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what if it was the bag in Betty Lou's handgun? How did she fit it in there?
Good questions, all. The last segment.
What if it was the Betty Lou in the gun's handbag?
That's a good question.
Marvel's What If.
I'm Uatu, the Watcher. I see all different realities. We all know the world where Betty Lou had a gun in her handbag, but what if the gun had Betty Lou in the handbag? It might go a little something like this. Would it have taken away some of the gravitas of the Watcher if he had been like, but what if Daredevil had not lost his sight? I think it would go a little something like this.
And then for some reason he just does a Jack Nicholson impression every time.
Yep. What if
Speaking of-
Jack Nicholson had been bitten by the radioactive spider? I think it would go a little something like this. I'm Spider Nicholson. I got the proportionate strength of a spider. Yeah. Wait till they get a load of me and my spider strength.
Yeah. Whew. Recommendations of movies. That's our last segment. And speaking of Marvel, it's not the most creative recommendation, but I went out and saw Black Widow, and I just want to say, because I feel like it's been getting kind of more mixed reviews overall, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I thought that it was interesting to see a slightly more sort of human emotion based Marvel movie, and it was a movie that I think weirdly dealt with trauma and gave that character a lot more depth than she had been given in the previous films, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought all the supporting casts, David Harbour, Florence Pugh, and Rachel Weisz, were also both very funny and sort of weirdly heartbreaking, and so I enjoyed it. Black Widow. Stuart, why don't you recommend something?
Yeah. I'm going to recommend a movie that I saw the other day. It is a horror comedy. I don't know. I think I rented it. I think it's playing in select theaters now. It's a movie called Werewolves Within. It is a movie about a small rural town that is plagued with a werewolf problem, and it's got a lot of energy. It's fun. It kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the energy you get out of the Cornetto trilogy. And the leads are all great. It stars Sam Richardson, who's very funny and charming, and her name I will butcher is Melania Weintraub.
Mm-hmm.
Who you would recognize if you were low key Googling "girl from AT&T commercial."
Yeah,
and they're both very good in it and a lot of fun.
How would you high key Google that?
You would tell people on a podcast that you're Googling
it,
as opposed to like trying to be sneaky about it.
That's Josh Rubin directed that. I liked his last movie before this, Scare Me, which is on Shudder, I think.
Oh, I gotta watch that one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I'll recommend some movies unless, Hallie, you want to go first.
No, go for it.
Guys, it's that time again. When I come to the end of the Czech New Wave package at the Criterion Channel, I'm going to do 2 movies just so we can wrap up the Czech New Wave package, because I know I've recommended a lot of Czech New Wave movies. 2 that I really liked a lot. One was called The Ear. It is about a politician who believes that he has now gotten on the bad side of the ruling Communist Party, and it all takes place over one night where he and his wife are having an argument after a party that they went to that was full of political figures, and he comes to believe that he has been marked for arrest and imprisonment just as a political. Just for being on the wrong side of a report about a brick-making factory, I think, and comes to believe that everywhere in his house are surveillance things listening to him. And I thought it was really good and very tense, and just reminded me how terrible it was to be living under communism in those countries. That's directed by Karol Kachina, I think is the name, how it's pronounced. The other movie I recommend is called Diamonds of the Night. It was directed by Jan Nemec and is about 2 young boys who have escaped from a train taking them to the concentration camps during World War II. And it is a kind of very stream of consciousness and very poetic and kind of beautiful at times movie of them running away and just what's going through their minds and the experience of escaping into the woods and being eventually chased by a group of very elderly hunters who have been tasked with bringing them down. And so both of those I thought were really good. They're both somewhat chilling and yet have their moments of lyricalness. There's Diamonds of the Night and The Ear. And with that, I bid a fond farewell to the Czech New Wave package on the Criterion Channel. Who knows what Criterion Channel packages, collections I will bring up next time. Hallie, what would you like to recommend?
Well, have you guys seen that French movie, A Very Curious Girl? It's from the 60s. I think in French it's called La Fiancée du Pirate or something, the pirate's fiance. It's a lot of fun. You know, just sort of randomly watched it one night, also off Criterion. It's about a woman who is, lives in poverty in this village and is treated like shit by everyone in the village. And then her mother dies and she decides to become a prostitute and get revenge on everyone in the town. And was just surprising. A lot of fun. I also had a question for you guys. Have any of you guys seen the movie Shoot the Moon?
No.
Yes. Does that have like Sean Penn in it or like?
No, it's Diane Keaton and Albert Finney.
Oh no, I'm thinking of a different movie. No, I haven't seen that.
Okay.
You're thinking of Carlito's Way.
Dan is thinking of the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. We know what movie Dan is thinking about.
Well, I watched this movie the other day by myself, and I really wished I had watched it with someone else because I had no idea what I was supposed to take away from it. It ends with a very dramatic and violent scene that was, I think, supposed to send me away with a message that I am at a loss for, and I read all the old reviews of it, and they didn't seem to clarify. So if anyone knows what the hell this movie was about, and let me know.
Okay, get in touch with Hallie if you've got answers about Shoot the Moon. I haven't seen it, but I guess now I have to watch it.
Yeah, you should. And tell me what you think.
Okay, in our new podcast, Shoot the What? Hosted by Hallie Haglund
Peter
and Elliot
Weller's
Kalan.
in it?
Yeah. I think he's he's kind of a hunk, right?
And Karen Allen.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Weller's more than a hunk. He's a RoboCop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he is.
More than a hunk.
That was the original
That's what he put
subtitle
on
of RoboCop.
his Tinder
He's more than a
bio.
hunk. They changed it to what was it? Half man, half robot, all cop. But for a while it was just he's more than a hunk. He's a RoboCop. And they were like, we're not really feeling like this is getting at the tone of the movie.
Well, guys, what a pleasure to talk about Me You Madness with all of you and to be in two rooms.
Yeah.
Feel the real energy, you know? I don't know why you laugh at that. I'm just going to...
This is a creepy way to put it.
As always, hey, why don't you go over to MaximumFun.org, check out the other podcasts there. They're our network. They're very nice to us. They help us get advertisers and money and all sorts of things. And I want to thank Alex Smith, our new editor, Stuart's good friend of many years, our good friend who's been on the podcast way back when and does all the music for the Flop Tales. Thank you, Alex, for rescuing me in particular. Before I say my name, I just want to say that in The Gun in Betty Lou's handbag, you can see Paul Bates.
Boy.
Paul Bates, who you might recognize from Coming to America and Coming to America, both. But I've been Dan McCoy, and y'all.
Oh, I guess I'm Stuart Wellington. Thanks for having me on the podcast. It means a lot.
I'm Elliot Kalin. I'm amazed Dan didn't mention that Stanley Tucci has an uncredited role in The Gun in Betty Lou's handbag.
What?
What?
According to
missed it.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
joining
man,
us
I bet he
has
looks
been...
incredible.
I'm Hallie Haglund with your top hit podcast.
And nailed it.
On this episode, we discuss Me You Madness.
The first ever movie to feature a Secretary of the Treasury's wife's butt. Sorry, Mrs. Albert Gallatin. Let me just make sure that I got Gallatin's first name right.
Yeah, you don't want to be called out for that blunder.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Albert Gallatin. Great, got it right.
Abraham Alphonse Albert.
But he went by Albert. Okay.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.